Because from Monday, we are reclaiming our country. From Monday, we are taking back what's ours. From Monday, we are putting politicians in their place. And it's an indefinite period. We don't know for how long. But we are asking you, if you don't have the common sense, you will still close your shop either way once the goons show up. So you might as well close it from the beginning. But you won't hold us hostage. That when we ask for you to close your stores, you won't close. You're coming to blackmail us. But just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, there was a COVID lockdown. A president stands there and says, you're going to close your business. You're going to do what? You're going to stay in the house. And that time you complied. That time you survived. But somehow you think you won't survive this time round. Give us a break with your double standards, you business people. You're disgusting. If we see you pushing those narratives, you're going to tell us how you survived when we had a COVID lockdown, when all shops were closed, when everything was, movement was halted. You're going to tell us if you died, but we will not be held back by your pursuit for money. You make money all the time, but we call for a sacrifice because you should be responsible corporate citizens, however big or small your outfit is. You should understand that these are your clients. These are your potential customers. They are saying they don't like the trajectory that the economy is taking. Who are you to open your store? With your collaboration, we can end this faster. With your participation, we could end this in 1 day, in 2 days, in 3 days. With your constant, back and forth, trying to hog the limelight from the actual victims, from the actual abductees, from the cause, by hosting your own parallel pressers, claiming that we are affecting your businesses. How entitled are you that your customers have elected to protest for good governance? But you're telling your customers, stop protesting, come and buy from my store. Come and buy my shit from my store. How entitled are you? How insensitive would you be? How aloof? How out of touch? How disconnected are you with the plight of your very customers when you open your mouth, say that kind of damn shit? We are your clients. We give you business. We are boarding your matatus. You make money from us. We have said that the state of the economy is worrying. Our current state of our human rights index is depreciating, is deteriorating by the day. We are seeing suspicious deaths. We have seen Roslyn Odede, the chairperson of Kenya National Human Rights Commission. She has died. We are being emotionally blackmailed. We are being guilt-tripped here. Ahmed Nasir has just done a silly tweet just targeting me, saying that, you're being insensitive. Let me tell you, when the Chief of General Staff, Francis Ogola, when he had an accident, we started saying that this is foul play. This is foul play. Why? Because if you had checked the utterances, you don't need to go far. You just needed to Google. You check the utterances of Aden Duale when they won the elections in 2022. He had said, we are going to come for Francis Ogola. We are going to go for him. They said it. It's not, we are not cooking stories. Our memory is just fresh. And I told you, we refuse to unsee glaring evidence. If evidence has brought itself there, why would I unsee it? Why would I pretend that it doesn't exist? So if Aden Duale said that with his own mouth that they are going to kill Chief of General Staff Francis Ogola, who am I to dispute him? Who am I to doubt him? Who am I to underestimate him? And at the time that Ogola died, Aden Duale was the Minister of Defense. He was directly in charge of that docket. And 2 years earlier, less than 2 years, 2 years earlier, he had declared that we are going to finish Chief of General Staff Ogola. Now, with that kind of glaring evidence, why would I tweet, rest in peace, it was an accident? I'm not a stupid idiot. I'm like, this is murder. This is premeditated. We have the evidence. We have the utterances. Why would I say, oh, sorry, may he rest in peace? Let God's will be done. Let God's will be done. No, that was an assassination, and the evidence was on the table. So now Roselyn Odede has died. Just at the time we are being told that she was ailing. Nobody has mentioned that she has ever taken work leave. Nobody has mentioned that she was let to go, she was allowed to work from home, or she had been suspended temporarily, or she's not been. No, we didn't get those details. But me, I use my deductive reasoning to understand that she has been in the thick of things. She has been announcing how many people have died. That information has been cited by international media. They've been quoting Kenya human rights numbers. They have said 80 Kenyans or 70 Kenyans were killed during the June protests. Another 100 or 200 have been reported missing. Kenya human rights have been doing that. Those informations, once they get there, they are hurting the government's image. Because don't forget, this is a fraudulent government that wants to hoodwink the donors and buy as much time as possible so as to continue with the winning streak. The winning streak is what? Stealing 2 billion shillings daily. Doing phantom deals like they are Danny contract. And so Roselyn Odede dies at a time when we've been talking about agencies which would be filing reports to the International Criminal Court about the war crimes perpetrated by William Ruto and top government. Me, I look like that. I'm like, me, I don't believe in coincidences. Sorry. Pardon me. Pardon me. I don't believe in mainstream narratives, and I don't buy coincidences. Roselyn Odede has died just as the Kenya Human Rights Commission was in the middle of continuing their audit of the missing persons, of the dead persons. And she dies. And you seem to think that's a coincidence? If you think that's a coincidence, then you also believe that Francis Ogola's plane helicopter crash was an accident. Somehow the helicopter that he normally uses was dysfunctional, or it was being used elsewhere. Somehow. By sheer coincidence. Because we are all about coincidences, right? And so he's forced to use a rundown Huey helicopter. And in the mission that was going, he was sent there by the appointing authority. He was told, go look for, I don't know, they were going to schools, they were inspecting schools that KDF had done. So you are literally being set up. So we don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. If you believe in coincidences, then that's your fucking shit. Myself? No. No. Thank you very much to the TikTokers who are multicasting my stream. I think somebody had told me you can use TikTok Studio, you can use OB Studio, you can use this live feed on your account, and we can multicast this stream for even your followers. So thank you for all who are doing that. I've been collaborating with you. Thank you for everyone who is DMing me. I got a very funny DM that there is this car, KCG089A. It's a Pro Box. It's a white Pro Box which has been registered to Catherine Kalaju. That's the car that abducted Billy Mwangi. Catherine Kalaju and her husband are based in Maua in Meru County. Now, the Maua area, the Meru region is prominently featuring in when it comes to oppression, being the face of brutality and oppression of not just this government, but many governments. When they want, it's like almost Meru people have, and I don't mean all, because even Ruto stood up and said that Meru people follow orders to the letter. If you want to have somebody to do something for you, get a Meru person around you. Ruto said it. The problem with you people is you don't take mental notes of these off-the-cuff comments, because that's where the juice is. That's where the evidence is. If you listen to off-the-cuff comments where Ruto was talking after June 25th, he was just saying, we're going to come for each and every one of you. So those who are smart took protective measures. You removed your SIM cards, you changed your locations, you did that. Those simple measures for a stretched security apparatus are important. But if you want to operate as if it's business as usual, if you want to consume news as if you're just a passive consumer, yet you want to tweet or you want to post one of those memes, you have to know that this is serious shit. You have to know that once you get an opportunity, you get it once. Once you get it once, you finish. You don't go home. That Boniface Mwangi was able to herd you like goats, taking you back to the slaughter. That you people still second guess yourselves. That even Githurai people were on the streets on December 31st and you could not even mobilize yourselves to walk to CBD. That lethargy is not by coincidence. It's by the media you've been consuming, by the fear you've been buying with your coins. And I told you people, this Jabba is the only unregulated cash crop in the country, where they get it from the farm to the market. All other cash crops are regulated. They are deliberately weighed down. They are deliberately destroyed. Coffee now is being, the people who have coffee farms are converting them to real estate because coffee has no yields. Why? Because of overregulation, too much bureaucracy. But Mera, the product just leaves Meru in a pickup on the road. If they did that with coffee, we would be having economic prosperity in Kenya. If they did that with tea, imagine you're growing your own product and somebody else, some bureaucrat whose work in office is just sitting and farting. Some bureaucrat whose work is just banging his female colleagues like a gonga, Baltazar. He writes, farmers are now supposed to be deducted 5% of their earnings through the coffee auction or through the tea auction. A bureaucrat somewhere is deciding how your product is going to be sold. So all that has happened for all other cash crops except Mira, except Jabba. Why? Because they realize it's a stimulant, and a stimulant which afterwards keeps people docile, keeps people dumb, makes the youth inept, dumbs you down. And then in your Jabba bases where you are chewing that shit, you start now talking, listening. Munaonaje tusiende maandamano. Tusiende. Unajua ukienda maandamano utakula nini? Wewe unakula nini mwenye hujaenda maandamano saa hii? Uko na kitu ya kukula? Who has told you that going for maandamano will hurt what you are eating? You see, these are narratives which have been coined from somewhere, and you're consuming them. You're consuming them like an idiot. I am telling you, this whole Jabba operation started in the mid to the late 2000s. Previously, Mera and Jabba people they were outcasts. We could not entertain them. We could not have them in our conversations. They were outcasts. Now, even major hotels, I don't know how that policy changed. There's a club called K1. K1 was a premium house. Suddenly we start seeing, suddenly people can go and eat Jabba over there. Oh, there's reggae night. People can eat Jabba. It was one of those class harmful drugs that we could not tolerate. They were acceptable, yes, in the public, but people who used to eat Jabba and Mira were outcasts. How they became mainstream, I don't know. But during the same period, we have seen a lot of enforcement and crackdown on alcohol. Because of what? Because in the bars is where people have a lot of political conversation, unhinged. In the bars is where people mobilize. In the bars is where people get enlightenment. So there was a systematic crackdown on alcohol, on bars. But then the Jabba bases, all of them, as all other facets and components of the economy were collapsing, Jabba bases were expanding in the estates, neighborhoods. Somehow all the bars, even the high-end bars, they started being lenient with Jabba consumers. Suddenly reggae music, and I told you reggae music is another avenue of desensitizing the population because they come and evangelize you against your will. When you go to a reggae night, and then you hear a song Jah shall wash away all the tears from my eyes. In times and the storms and the tides are rising high, we know we shall live, we know we'll survive. Jah shall wash away all the tears. Jah is washing away your tears. How? You will wash away your tears. You will work your way up. You will rise up from the ashes like the proverbial phoenix. You will not depend on imaginary and stupid songs like those ones to damn you down. You're going to lift yourself up from this morass, from this decay, from this political oblivion that we have been cast to by the politicians. You have to see the accessories that they are using to damn you down. You have to see the fear that they are using to scaremonger you. You have to stop buying it. You have to rise up, you useless bastards. So, it started, now it escalated with the Uhuru era. They started with bringing alcohol. And they started with a narrative. They got this idiot called Emmanuel Juma. They got this Evelyn Wamboi who used to be in Citizen. They go stand there where there is an alcohol roadblock. They stand there, they are filming. And then they get the guy, they are shooting their videos over there. They get the guy and then all of you see that and you're scared. You don't want to go and drink again. What narrative did they use? Oh, alcohol is causing accidents. Drunk driving is causing accidents. Remember, we have seen the numbers. We are not people, we are not passive consumers of news. We don't watch Gaitho media. We don't read Gaitho media bullshit because we know Gaitho media has been bought. Gaitho media is an extension, is an accessory of the state. And we did the numbers, and I want to challenge you to Google it at your own free time. There were more accidents in between 2020 and 2021 when we were fully locked down. There was no movements and the bars were closed. There were still more accidents then than 2019 when there was no lockdown. In fact, the rate of increase of accidents between 2020 and 2021 is higher than 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024. So were we drinking alcohol were we driving during the COVID period? No. Were we even driving? You have to get special permits. We were limited in our movements. So alcohol has never been the cause of bad accidents, road accidents. The cause of road accidents has always been poor road design. These guys, the contractors and entrepreneurs, they leave the road half done. They leave stones in the middle of nowhere. They don't mark the road. They don't put reflectors. You're just driving like this. A bump pops out of nowhere. You find yourself flying. There's no drainage. Rironi, the ABC place to Rironi, that stretch alone, it is dark. It is always under construction. Has been in that state for 10 years. But they have sold you the lie that alcohol is the problem. Oh, they got the MPs. They got the MPs. You remember when Uhuru now called religious leaders and then called MPs from Mount Kenya and said, I want all bars closed. I'm telling you, the MPs were literally rocking up to your bar, to your wines and spirit and had it closed. Did they do that to the Mera places? Did they do that to the Jaba places? Ebu jiulize hiyo swali wewe umbwa. Jiulize swali hilo. They raided all the alcohol places. They even raided the manufacturers. Humphrey Karaoke, they had an international arrest warrant for Humphrey Karaoke, who was in Cyprus at the time. And he had to come back to Kenya to attend a court case. That was DCI Kenoti. I wrote a letter to the LSK president, Faith Odhiambo. I told her we should investigate DCI Kenoti for past crimes. We cannot leave them unattended to, because those are crimes that we should never forget. But they cracked down on anything alcohol during the Uhuru era. And the irony is, Uhuru Kenyatta is a functional alcoholic and chain smoker. What was the incentive? What was the motive? The issue here is that you go and get your political liberation in the bar. You go to get damned down in the Jaba and Mira places. Every Jaba, I told you, every Jaba spot is an NIS listening outpost. There's somebody there selling you fear. Kuna mtu hapo amewekwa. His work is to de-escalate. Once aniona mamioto zimepanda, their work is to de-escalate. So you seem to think that it's a coincidence that these things happen. You seem to think that Miraa is such a successful product and has not been regulated because of X, Y, and Z. It has no significant value to the economy, unlike coffee, which earns us foreign exchange, unlike tea, unlike horticulture, unlike pyrethrum, even sugar. All those products weighed down through bureaucracy, through policy. But one product is left because it's targeting the youth and it is dumbing you down. Once you're getting intoxicated, because they know the process is a long period. You can even take 9 hours as you're chewing that shit. During those 9 hours, you have to be fed with information. Now there is somebody planted in your Jabba base to conduct the social engineering that they do, to infect your cerebrum with propaganda, state-sponsored propaganda. So you think you're having intellectually stimulating conversation. No. Your cerebrum is being infected. They realize, why should we kill? And if you look even in the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s, when they realized that they could suppress the black neighborhoods in America with stuff like cocaine and what, they turned a blind eye. Let's push this shit there. Because if these guys, if we don't suppress them, if they decide to wake up, they can realize their strength, they can maximize their potential, and they can marshal their political clout either through the streets or through the ballot. Am I making sense? Am I making sense to you wherever you are? It's a Saturday evening. Are we making any progress? Are you understanding how our oppression has been birthed, has been nurtured? It has not been an overnight process. Started during the late years of Kibaki, and from Uhuru era, it was escalated. They got the churches on board. They got the media on board. Everyone was just saying alcohol, alcohol, alcohol. But no problem. If you're gonna ban alcohol in Kenya, if you're gonna ban alcohol here, then what you do is give us roads. Saudi Arabia, they don't take alcohol there. It's extremely prohibited. But they have roads, they have what? They have everything. Free hospital, university, school, everything is there. So if you're gonna ban this shit, then give me what Saudi Arabians have. Give me what Emiratis have. Give me what Kuwaitis have. But stop trying to impose first world war laws in a third world country. So before you get onboarded in a government narrative, always ask yourself questions. Because these things I told you, they are planned on a desktop by David D. and Itumbi. They sit down and then they know who to send to speak what they want. And at some point, there's no even financial benefit. They're just doing it for the thrill of it. It's almost like Boniface Mwangi and these sellouts. And the Julius Kamaus and the Hussein Halis and the Hanifas. The money may be comfortable for them now, but it's not commensurate to the damage that they are inflicting. It is not. So Boniface Mwangi is only being a traitor because of the thrill of it. Because he knows he's incompetent, and in a level playing field where he's put amongst other competent people, he cannot thrive in a merit-oriented environment. And so, profiting at a time at such awful periods of our history, and you find yourself making it, is only because you can go and sack William Ruto's. That is the only reason why you're making it. Because you know when a government that we truly deserve comes into power and you're forced to put your thinking caps on and you're forced to compete with other able-bodied, able-minded Kenyans, you will not thrive. You will not survive. You lack the mental grit. You lack the gravitas to even sustain yourself economically in a merit-oriented environment. That's why you're so scared of good governance. That's why you're scared of bringing this system down, because you know there is no place for you in a merit-oriented environment. You cannot compete. You cannot make it in a merit-oriented environment. that's why defending William Ruto is such a beautiful prospect for you. Because he does not value merit. He does not value competence. He values tribalism. He values chronism. He values any other ism you can come up with, because we are in what is called a kakistocracy. Kakistocracy. It is a government of the worst being led by the worst of the crop, bottom of the barrel. Boniface Mwangi, he's an idiot. You hear him talking. There's no intellect in his speech, in his discourse, in his anything. He has never said anything poignant, anything worth remembering, anything inspiring. I have never even quoted any of his speech anywhere because I don't even remember anything he says. But the prospect of a William Ruto presidency is happy, is entertaining to him, because that's the only place he can thrive. In a merit-oriented environment, Boniface Mwangi will be condemned to the dungeons and the annals of history. We will forget that such a character existed, because activism will not exist. Activism exists in places where bad governance has been orchestrated, has been engineered. And I told you we have something called planned poverty. And so they create a semblance of democracy by propping up these characters, these clowns who are masquerading as activists, who we are even telling them that we don't want to come on Monday. They are still insisting we are going to come. Why do you want to come? Not to ruin the protest, if not to divert attention from our protest, from the cause, from Tibet Bull, from the abductees. Why the do you want to come? You only want to come because you thrive in darkness. You only want to come because activism is not a career. Activism has no form. You know, activism is only thrives when there is bad governance. Once good governance comes, then there will be no use for you idiots. There will be no use for Okiya Omtata. Okiya Omtata has made a career for going to court to challenge government high-handedness, government excesses, government largesse. If good governance exists, if we have a government for the people, by the people, do we need Okiya Omtata to go to court? If we have a people who follow the law, who follow the constitution, who embark on public participation, who create the democratic space and economic environment for everyone to thrive, if we have shared prosperity, do we need Okiya Omtata? So why are you foisting him? Why are you foisting a character who has made a career from purporting to solve man-made problems? Why? It's not like Okiya Omtata is an inventor. It's not like he's an innovator. It's not like all these fucking activists are innovators or inventors. But they exploit a loophole. The loophole is left. They are allowed to file those constitutional petitions challenging the government, emerging as heroes. Why don't you see it? Why don't you see it as a broader script? So that when the government needs to activate them, when the government needs to tell them no, go and infiltrate that protest, go and bring us Tibet Bull, we want him alive so that we can go and skin him dead. Why don't you see it as a broader scheme by the government to suppress the movement, to suppress the protest? What happened in June 25th? Boniface Mwangi was able to commandeer all of you like a bunch of livestock to leave CBD, and it was done under the guise of that you're going for your safety. Staying in town will lead to I don't know what. And you went to your homes, and that's where you were being set up. Why don't you see it that Boniface Mwangi was in coordination with the security agencies who came to hunt you in your estates, in your homes? Why don't you see it that he was on the table when they were planning to switch off Safaricom so that you can be slaughtered, you can be butchered, and your bodies can be thrown in Kware dam site? Why don't you see it that way? Why must you see these people, your oppressors, the accessories of your oppression? Why must you see them as your liberators? They have been doing activism for 15 years. We know solid gains with nothing tangible to show us. With good governance, we don't need activists. Go to Sweden. You'll see the kind of activism there is very passive, is very, on issues. They're not doing activism for food, for the right to access to healthcare. As we are there, we are at the lowest. We are at the lowest as regards to any index that you might think of, economic, human rights, constitutionalism, we are at the lowest. And so we want to lift ourselves out of that. So do you think activists will want a system, will want a scenario where we have good governance, which condemns them to joblessness? Do you think it's in their interest to see Ruto fall? Do you think they want Ruto to go, or bad governance to become a thing of the past when they've been profiting from the very malaise that we are fighting against, from the very malfeasance that we want to bring an end to? Do you think that Boniface Mwangi, that Okia Kino Mtata, do you think they care? Do you think they want good governance that will condemn them to isolation, to joblessness, to us forgetting that they ever existed? No, they love the status quo. That's why they were happy to tell you go home. That's why Okia Mtata was prematurely launching his presidential bid in 2027, telling us to wait, telling us we postpone our grievances until the day that he gets into power, because he's the knight in shining armor. He's the one who has been challenging the government in court from man-made afflictions, man-made calamities. Why don't we then, instead of relying on this vessel, this accessory who has been challenging the government, which has been enacting, which has been undermining our economic prosperity and our constitutional gains, why then do we have to deal with the middleman? Why can't we deal with the head of the snake? Let's bring down the entire establishment. It's been one hell of a journey. It's been one hell of a journey for us to get here. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't sacrifice my life, my freedoms, if I didn't see any progress. Every day, I see people trying to liberate themselves. I do understand, I do painfully acknowledge that the social experiments and the psyops that are deployed are on next level. But I do appreciate the few of you who struggle to outlearn, to outgrow, to unlearn all this bullshit. I really appreciate. And so when we say that January 6th, no shop will be open, no business will be open, nobody will go to work, nobody will go to school, we are doing it in your interest. We have no interest to undermine your work. We have no interest to undermine your business. We have no interest to undermine your pursuit for education. But we have come to a point where all of that doesn't matter. Now is a struggle, is a fight for our life. We have come to a position where now we have to stop all of that, and then we have to look. We have to understand, how did we get here? The blind faith that you extended to war criminals is the same blind faith that you are extending to activists. Activists whom you've not vetted. Activists who are even cited in the missing persons, in the missing people that we are now looking for. Okia Mtata's name pops up. Doesn't make any effort to clear it. Doesn't make any effort to allay our concerns, our fears. Turns it into another PR shenanigans. So with the possibility that all the tenets of democracy have been infiltrated, the media, the activists, the NGOs, with that glaring possibility, we are left with no choice but to hit the streets. We are not gloating. We are not saying that it is possible. We are not saying that it's easy, but it has to be attempted. It has to be tried, and it has to be done. And the sooner that you understand that you have to sacrifice for your future, the better it will be for all of us.